If you desire to walk in alignment with your purpose, to live a life of joy, abundance, and fulfillment, you've come to the right place. This is Sarah Locke, and welcome to Purpose Unlocked. Hello, everyone. Today I want to talk about triggers. And what sparked this thought process for me was just the fact that I am really proud of myself that I've been able to be consistent on social media and creating this podcast and just doing a lot of the things that I had set out to do this year. So I'm really proud of reaching those goals, but in the process, I'm glad that I'm gaining more traction and more people are seeing my videos, but along with that comes trolls. And I know that that's going to happen, right? But I guess I just didn't expect it to happen this soon or this early, especially with the message that I'm putting out there. I wanted to be one of love and acceptance and helping people with their emotional intelligence and learning to love themselves and spread that to others. So I generally believe in the principle of karma and that you reap what you sow. So I kind of expected that if I put that goodness out into the world, that's what was going to come back to me. And while for the most part that has been overwhelmingly true, there are unfortunately people that are still going to make rude comments and want to tear you down for seemingly no reason. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that and understand what triggers those types of emotions in people, because they don't just happen to trolls, right? Like when I picture a troll, I think of this miserable person living in their mother's house well past the age of that being appropriate. And sorry, I'm totally judging, but yes, but this is what I picture. And I just think of someone who isn't very successful in their own lives and therefore wanting to tear into other people because they lack the confidence and motivation to do things that would make the positive change for themselves. So instead they tear down other people hoping that will make them feel better. And unfortunately, that doesn't actually work. It generally makes you just as miserable, if not more miserable in the long term. So these aren't the only people that have those feelings though. It's not just these angry people in their mom's basements that want to tear you apart. You know, a lot of these triggers can happen to regular people. They happen to me. So I wanted to understand what those triggers look and feel like, and then how we can address them and work through those. So the one thing that most people are going to say triggers them are going to be things like insecurity and jealousy. Honestly, I think for trolls, it might just be boredom. I think that if you really have nothing better to do, you might just go online to try to get a rise out of people. But I think for most of us, it's going to be things like insecurity and jealousy. So let's start with jealousy, because I think that is one that comes out a little bit easier without it being provoked, right? So I'm not out here trying to provoke people to be mad at me. I'm not arguing about polarizing concepts. I'm not out here saying that the world's flat and global warming doesn't exist. And I'm not saying anything crazy that would be making people want to come at me. So the first thing that I think triggers people in an unprovoked way is going to be jealousy. So, and it doesn't have to be, I'm not showing off fancy vacations or riding my yacht around wherever, that's not what I'm doing either. So what are people jealous of? I honestly think that some people are just jealous of other people's happiness. I think people can be jealous of other people's confidence. And I also think that when people see you doing something that means a lot to you, that you're accomplishing something or a goal that you set out to do, whether you're good at it and killing it, or whether you're starting it and you just had the courage and the confidence to just go for it and try it, I think people are going to be jealous of that. And people usually assume that because you're doing it and because you're coming off as confident, it must be so easy for you. But the truth of the matter is that's not the case. So even something as simple as this podcast or creating the short form content that I'm putting out there, that took me a really, really, really long time to get the confidence to do that. So this didn't start at the beginning of the year, even though that's when you started seeing me do this and seeing my face. This started years ago when I was trying to make cooking videos, and that's how I was getting myself in front of the camera for the first time. And I have to tell you, I would be shaking and sweating, the amount of anxiety and fear and self-doubt and insecurity that was rushing through my veins at that time. was just insane. So this wasn't something that I hopped into at the beginning of the year and was like, oh yeah, I'm so confident on camera, look at me. This took a really long time. And I think that for anything that you start, don't beat yourself up if it does take longer than you expect it to, because that's going to happen. And if you see someone doing something that you think is, oh my goodness, that's so hard, I can't believe they're doing that, I can tell you it probably took them a very long time to get there. So don't beat yourself up if you're not there yet. That's the jealousy component. I think people will see the way you're living your life. Obviously, on Instagram, you're getting everyone's highlight reel. Like, that's not what people's lives look like. But it's hard when you don't see that other side to really understand their lives look so beautiful, but I have all of this going on behind the scenes. And we just all have to remember that no one's perfect. We are all struggling with something. And through my journey of self-healing, that was one of the things that I realized, was that even these people that I really look up to, people that look like they have it all together, they still struggle with insecurity, and there's still things that bother them. So we're all in it. And so don't judge anyone's journey too hard, and don't be mean to people for no reason, because we're all going through something. So that's the jealousy component. And then the other part is the insecurity component. I think that insecurity is generally something that is more likely to be purposefully triggered. So in this situation, I'm thinking of a troll, for instance, making a rude comment. Now, I do try to live by a principle in my life that is, I don't value people's opinions unless I really value that person and the way that they're living their lives. So if you are someone that I don't look up to and you're giving me advice, I'm not going to take that advice very seriously. That is just something that I do to hold my own boundaries and for my own mental health and well-being, and to keep my peace. So there are very few people in my life that I truly look up to and I truly, truly value their opinion. And I think sometimes I actually go the other way. I think sometimes I hold their opinion too high and too important sometimes. So that's something that I'm still working through and still trying to improve about myself. But what I am good at is not valuing people's opinions whose lives I don't want to emulate. So when it comes to insecurity, I really try to say, if you're saying something nasty to me and I don't know you and I don't want to live my life the way that you do, I try to not take it to heart. So I hope that can help someone out there, because I think so many of us are trying to please everybody, and you can't please everyone. So make sure that the people that matter to you in your life are the people whose opinions that you're taking into consideration. And the other ones, you just gotta let them go. But most of the time, that is easier said than done. So even though these are strangers on the internet, or people that you don't value that much, or your arch nemesis from high school says something nasty, even though this isn't someone whose opinion you should be valuing, sometimes it does, it leaves a little sting, you know? So I was evaluating what that's like and what that feels like to me, so that hopefully I can share that and help other people identify and work through those feelings. First, when someone triggers an insecurity, generally it's something that you're already insecure about. So I'm going to be vulnerable here for this one. And one of the things that I consider really important to me in my life is my appearance. And I spend a lot of time on that. I make sure that I go to the gym and I'm doing my hair and my makeup and whatnot. And so my appearance is something that I consider important to me. So if I get a comment about something silly, it doesn't bother me because it's not something that I'm already insecure about. But if I get a comment about my appearance, it's something that might sting a little bit more. So the first comment was something along the lines of me wearing too much makeup or looking like a clown. And this one didn't bother me because even though it was about my appearance, it wasn't something that I thought to be true. So it was actually on a video where I had just done my makeup. I was feeling myself and I thought that I looked so good. And we were about to go meet friends for dinner. And so I'm like, yeah, I look good. I'm going to make a quick video, try to motivate people, whatnot. And so because I didn't find any truth in the comment, it didn't hurt my feelings. So it didn't bother me. It didn't trigger me. The second time that someone had made a comment about my appearance, it was on a video where I hadn't gotten all done up. So I've also been trying to work on the fact that my self-worth and my message doesn't always have to be through the lens of me having perfect hair and makeup done every time. Like, I can just be a normal person going about my day-to-day routine and share something that comes to mind. So I've tried to do that in a way where I can be becoming more authentic. So that's been a goal for me this year, just becoming more authentic and being able to live my life as my normal self and not feel like I have to always put on a full face of makeup in order to impress people, because my makeup and the way I look is honestly one of the least impressive cool things about me. So like, there's so much more to my message than me having like perfectly winged eyeliner, right? So that was one of those days where I was like, all right, just lipstick and a little bit of mascara, good to go. And so one of the comments was about my eyebrows, that I need to fix my eyebrows. And I was like, my goodness, like, people are coming at me for nothing. And that one stung a little bit. So I had to ask myself, what is it about this comment that stung? And what I realized was, I know that, one of my sensitive areas is my appearance. And things that hurt our feelings or that trigger us are generally things that are in an area where we think that the comment has some truth to it. So I had to sit back and ask myself, like, okay, well, why did this one sting? Okay, well, it's because I didn't have, my eyebrows filled in with makeup. So they just looked like normal, natural eyebrows. And especially when you have the light shining on them or you're trying to make a video, you can't see them as much because I'm of Northern European descent and I have very blonde hair on most of myself. And so if I don't have mascara on or my eyebrows filled in, like, I have blonde hair and you can't see them. So yeah, it doesn't look like my full face of makeup. It looks like blonde eyebrows that are barely showing up that day. And so I had to dig in and say, you know what? That's okay. Like, I am very pale complected and I have light eyebrows. And you know what? The world is still turning. I didn't fill my eyebrows in that day and the world is still turning. So if that's you and you're triggered by something that someone said, just recognize it's probably because you do hold a little bit of truth in what they said that was triggering and that hurt your feelings. And that's okay, but dive in and recognize what that truth is. And if it's something that is really horrible and really true, like, then work on that aspect of yourself. But if it's something that is so simple and stupid as, yeah, I was born with blonde hair and I have blonde eyebrows, like, who cares? So I think we have to sometimes look at our triggers and think of these insecurities and the things that bother us and think of how infinitesimal they are in the grand scheme of our lives. And just dive into that and figure out, what can I just let go of? So if this is you and you've been triggered recently, I encourage you to dive into what those triggers were. What was it that was said that was something that hurt your feelings or upset you? Sometimes these things come from people that we love, and that can be even harder because they might be from people that we do hold to a high esteem. And then we have to ask ourselves deeper questions to understand, where is this coming from? Is this something that is true, or is this coming from their own hurt? So that's another differentiator that we have to make. But again, what I would say is start with understand who your people are. Understand whose opinion matters and whose doesn't. Because the thing is, the circle of people whose opinions that matter is so small. You want to keep that small because not everyone's opinion matters and you can't impress and make everyone happy. Then look into what was said from there and understand, why was it, or what was it about this that made me feel bad? And then work through that and ask yourself, is it true? And then does it matter? So is it true that I don't have perfectly filled in eyebrows every day? Yeah, it is true. Does it matter? No, not in the slightest. So ask yourself, is it true? If it is true, does it matter? And most of the time, the answers to those things are going to be no. And I hope that gives you the peace and the confidence and the ability to just let those things go. So I hope that wherever you are on your healing journey, that you're able to identify those triggers, identify those insecurities for yourself, and then work through them. And if you need help working through them, I am absolutely here to help. Please find me on Instagram at Coach Sarah Locke, and we can talk through them and work through them together, because it has been a journey for me, and anything I can do to help others along that journey in a faster way, I would be more than happy to. Thank you for the precious gift of your time. If you found this helpful, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share with someone you love. Until next time, count your blessings, love yourself, and stay fabulous.